The number of deaths in the UK coronavirus outbreak passes the 1,000 mark after the biggest daily increase seen so far. Improvised centres are being set up across the UK and testing is now underway for frontline NHS staff. Welcome news for those self-isolating.
I know that my colleagues need me, and it's quite frustrating being sat here at home when I know I could be at work and I need to be at work.
As the death toll passes 10,000 in Italy, critically ill patients are airlifted to Germany for treatment. Here, councils across the UK are having to scale back local services as they focus on the virus. And as Britain's lockdown continues, why staying indoors doesn't necessarily mean you can't still have fun. Hello, very good afternoon to you. The number of people who have died with coronavirus in the UK now stands at more than 1,000. At today's Daily Government press conference, the NHS England's medical director warned that every one of us has a part to play if the UK is to keep the death toll under 20,000. In the past 24 hours, a further 260 patients have died. The total number of deaths now stands at 1,019. 246 of the deaths were in England, where the victims were aged between 33 and 100 years old. It comes as testing for frontline hospital staff who have symptoms in England and Scotland gets underway from today. With our first report this evening, here's our health correspondent, Dominic Hughes.
The logistics of setting up a new medical facility from scratch, a race against time to prepare the newly named Nightingale Hospital in East London, ahead of the coming surge of those who fall seriously ill with COVID-19. The sharp rise in today's death toll shows why these facilities are needed. The pressure on staff over the coming weeks, especially in intensive care units, is going to be extreme.
When the NHS is under increased demand as we expect and is already happening in London, is that we're not going to be able to maintain the normal levels of staffing that we currently do. And so we're going to have to dramatically change the way that we work. So rather than one intensive care nurse looking after one patient, we're going to have to work more as a team.
Now in Italy, the death toll has passed 10,000. Another 898 people have died in the past 24 hours. It comes as a German Air Force plane flew 6 critically ill coronavirus patients to Germany for treatment. Here's Jean Mackenzie from Rome.
A lifeline landing in Lombardy. Converted into a mobile hospital, this morning the German military flew critically ill patients from Italy's worst-hit region to hospitals around Germany. Italy's outbreak has been so concentrated in the north that hospitals are struggling to cope. Dr. Constantinis was one of the first to be overwhelmed.
In my town, the situation is a bit improving. I think we are a couple of weeks ahead of the rest of Lombardy. So we now are on the plateau of the curve of new COVID infections.
At first it was beds and ventilators in short supply, but now it's people.
Nurses and doctors. Because we have some free beds inside our hospital we could use for patients because we don't have any more nurses or doctors.
Today, Italy has reached a sobering milestone. More than 10,000 people dead. After nearly 900 more deaths were recorded since yesterday. There is some hope here. The rate of new infections has slowed over the past week, an indication that this lockdown, which began nearly 3 weeks ago, is starting to work. But Italians are wary of being too hopeful just yet, with the number of deaths still coming so fast. But the government's medical researchers say these recent deaths don't mean Italy isn't making progress.
These people got the infection 2 or 3 weeks ago. So this is an image of Italy some weeks ago.
How many days away from the peak do you think that we are?
We are expecting that the peak will be in the next days.
These days will now be critical in finding out whether Italy can hit its peak and turn the corner. Jean Mackenzie, BBC News, Rome.
Now in Spain, the death toll from the virus has risen by more than 800 overnight. It brings the total of those infected there to more than 5,600 people. The increase of 832 deaths exceeds yesterday's record, breaking one-day figure for fatalities. Spain has now more than 72,000 people infected with the virus. Councils across the UK are having to reduce and scale back services in the fight against coronavirus. It means that in some areas people won't be able to visit their recycling centres, their local libraries, or physically visit relatives in care homes. It comes as some councils say their workers have been attacked as they try to do their jobs.